Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and while I was planning on soapboxing today regarding a recent statement made by Mike Rose surrounding developer and publisher paid content and the moral and ethical implications for YouTubers, particularly games critics, that little rant video will have to wait, at least for today, as we have some bigger fish to fry. Now, for the Dirty Dev series, I've endeavored to include, for the majority, game developers and their games who have had a direct negative impact to the gaming community, whether it be outrageous lies, extortion, legal threats to critics, or more importantly to their own customers, theft, excessive greed through duplicitousness, and more. Each and every single developer who has been inducted into these not-so-hallowed halls has very much earned their place, and that can also very much be said about SiBa Games and their recent actions regarding their Extraction Shooter Venatur, in particular their apparent theft of assets and the threats they have made surrounding that theft from a game project known as OHD, or Operation Harsh Doorstop. Now, that said, let's meet those involved in this latest little online kerfuffle, the dramatis personae, if you will. First, we have the primary antagonist, SiBa Games. SiBa Games is developing, as I mentioned before, the Extraction Shooter Venatur, which is currently only available through their own website and costs €30 or roughly $33 US. The game was up on the Epic Games Store at one point in time, however, that is currently down, and the game is no longer available for sale on Steam, which some people have assumed was through external action. However, according to SteamDB, the game being removed from sale was done by SiBa Games themselves. Secondly, we have BlueDrake42. BlueDrake42 is a YouTuber with close to 1 million subscribers and who has become a game developer in his own right, heading up Drakeling Labs, the team that has released Operation Harsh Doorstop, a fully donation-funded and completely free first-person shooter that contains full mod support. And third, we have BigfryTV. Now, many of you know Big Fry, some of you even dislike him for some reason, but he and I have collaborated over a great many topics in the past, and we both seem to be very much like-minded, particularly when it comes to ethics within the games industry. BigfryTV has also recently become a game developer in his own right, heading up Big Fry Media Limited, the developers of the game Transience. BigfryTV has also come out with a video just the other day already discussing this topic, although there has been some new developments since the release of his latest video on this. Based on findings by BigfryTV, Drakeling Labs, and others, it would seem that SiBa Games have been ripping assets from Operation Harsh Doorstop's mod kit for use within Venatur, as evidenced by recent screenshots. For example, in this first comparison, we have this gas pump where the original OHDs is on the left, and the same pump with the exact same markings and even hose placement is on the right within Venatur. Secondly, we again have the original OHD asset on the left and Venatur's reused and retextured asset on the right. And then with this one, with OHD on the left and Venatur on the right again, the archways and structure physicality are exactly the same, merely with a texture swap. Once again with this structure and its style with OHD on the left and Venatur on the right. And then with this building model, OHD on the left, Venatur on the right, we see the exact same building merely with air units being added on for flavor. Another building asset from OHD can be seen used in Venatur with a bit of graffiti being added onto it. And then here we have OHD's image of a bridge, and paying close attention to the support pillars for it, and we again see identical assets being used within Venatur. Now, upon seeing this, Connor, BlueDrake42, emailed SiBa Games notifying them he is aware they are using his company's assets, provided examples of those assets, and also requested that the OHD assets be removed from Venatur within 48 hours, and stated he wanted to discuss with them in detail how long SiBa Games had been selling Venatur while using OHD assets, as well as a conversation about how many more assets might be included that they haven't found yet without Drakeling's consent. And to that, Alessandro Cappellini, the person who either is SiBa Games or who is in charge of SiBa Games, responded. And that response was, well, it was different, to say the least. Now, in it, he states, "Hi, Connor, don't get me wrong. I simply want to help you and understand clearly what you are saying. I checked on my computer and others. I have no download reference or any other reference to your project or license. I kindly ask you to enable me to delve deeper into the topic and also carry out other checks. I'm talking about this project of yours. And here he links to the OHD Core mod kit on the Epic Games Store that we'll get to in just a moment. Now he continues, can you confirm that the game objects you indicated can only be found on this project and that this project is yours? What I think is that your game files are finished in other projects resident in the Epic Marketplace and redistributed, after small manipulations in another form. I cannot, in terms of Italian laws, provide you with a list of our purchases on Epic's Marketplace due to privacy and other concerns. However, I can assure you of my full commitment and support in understanding this situation, which is a little bit odd for me. I can understand not divulging company finances or, company actions. However, if you think that an OHD asset is in another asset, maybe point to a reference. Say, here's one that I think one of your assets might be in. Maybe you should take a look at that. But from this, it would appear that Alessandro is claiming that the OHD assets likely came from other asset packs and he's denying any use of OHD material. And as I just said, he seems to be flat out refusing to even so much as cite an example of where one of those assets might be found. Now he goes on to say, the first piece of advice I would like to give you for OHD is to prevent downloads of game packages from the Epic Store by anyone who tries to access them without accepting your license. This could be an excellent legal defense. Also, check the type of distribution of OHD with Epic Store. In my humble opinion, part of your license violates the terms of Unreal Engine, the editor part, and Epic Store for distribution. And it seems fairly blatant to me that where first he was claiming to not have used OHD's assets, that they merely came from someone else's asset packs, to suddenly shift to your license doesn't comply with Epic Games, therefore it's invalid, screams to me of I'll do what I want because you screwed up. Except that he didn't, at least not entirely, and unfortunately for Alessandro, that's sort of ancillary to the primary point. Now, he referenced one very important thing here that isn't able to be outright debunked within 2 minutes of idle reading, but as always, the devil is in the details. Now, let's talk about where he said, the first piece of advice I would like to give you for OHD is to prevent downloads of game packages from the Epic Store by anyone who tries to access them without accepting your license. This could be an excellent legal defense. Now in this, BlueDrake42 might run into a little bit of an issue, and it is one that, were I him, I would absolutely get clarified with his attorney and with Epic Games as well. And when you take a look at the OHD Core mod kit on the Epic Games Store, please note this mod kit is completely free, just like everything else involving OHD. Down at the bottom of the page, there is a disclaimer. And that disclaimer reads, OHD Core EULA in terms of service, where it then provides the URL. Use of the editor is also subject to the Unreal Engine end-user license agreement, which may be found at the URL provided. By downloading or using the editor, you also agree to the Unreal Engine EULA. Now, it's important to note there that by downloading the mod kit, you are only agreeing to the Unreal Engine EULA by that statement and not both, meaning the person downloading the EULA need not agree to the Drakeling Labs EULA in terms of service, meaning, yeah, they exist, but there's no implied or explicit acceptance there, which means that there's a very high likelihood that the Drakeling Labs EULA might not apply. However, thankfully for Drakeling Labs and BlueDrake42, the EULA is only part of the equation. There is also copyright to consider. Now, Italy does have copyright laws and, more notably, no provisions for fair use. However, Italy is a part of the Berne Convention. The Berne Convention is an international treaty that most countries in the world have signed, which fixes copyright protections, and SiBa Games' use of OHD assets in Venatur are very clearly a violation of Drakeling Labs' copyright, regardless of end-user license agreement. After all, simply not accepting the EULA doesn't mean you can just take someone else's copyrighted material and use it for whatever you so choose. That's not how that works. One need not accept an end-user license agreement to be subject to copyright law. Now, as I said before, BigfryTV has made a video on this subject up to this point, and BlueDrake42 made a statement on Twitter yesterday at around 12:30 Pacific time, where he confirmed that the game Venatur was making use of stolen assets. Well, it would seem that Alessandro really didn't like that, as he emailed BlueDrake and said, "Following your actions. In the latest BigfryTV video, my person is being slandered and I don't understand why. I demand a public apology video with an apology from both of you towards me. I asked for a strike on YouTube for the removal of this video, where he then links BigfryTV's video, according to Italian laws for the protection of privacy and slander. From what I know about Canadian or US laws, there are equal laws. You have 24 hours to apologize to me before I proceed. The references found are for Big Fry Media Limited and Drakeling Labs services, from which I will extrapolate all the people involved in this slander. Now, it is worth noting that at the time I recorded this video, BigfryTV's video remains unaffected by any potential strike, and the concept of an apology video over SiBa Games' copyright infringement being caught in 4K is quite laughable. Almost as laughable as the obvious implications of legal threats regarding slander, considering it is quite likely BlueDrake42 and Drakeling Labs will be pursuing legal action themselves over this. So I will say this to Alessandro of SiBa Games. I would advise you to remove any and all Operation Harsh Doorstop assets from your game. You violated their copyright by incorporating assets obtained from their mod kit, which was created for the expressed and sole purpose of generating customized content for Operation Harsh Doorstop only, and in alignment with Epic Games and Unreal Engine's terms of service. I would retract the threats against BigfryTV and Drakeling Labs, and then I would strongly recommend you fuck off into the ether. What SiBa Games has done here is as unethical as it is illegal. No, I get it. The guy's cobbling together a game using pre-made assets and holding it all together with duct tape, baling wire, spit, and a lot of hope. And in many instances, there's no problem making use of pre-made assets outside of the prevailing sentiment within the gaming world that it's lazy at best, but only insofar as legally obtained assets. And simply grabbing another game's mod kit, ripping their assets, retexturing them to make yourself feel a little better, and then slapping it into your own commercial product is by no means legal. It is copyright infringement, regardless of whether or not you choose to adhere to the EULA. And taking that into account, I ask you, where is the slander in stating and showing the information you have? Now, Italy's slander and defamation laws are a bit funny, they're a bit odd, they're a little bit weird, but US and Canadian law regarding defamation and the statements that BlueDrake and BigfryTV have made, and now the statements I myself have made, things might not go as well as you might expect. What Alessandro and SiBa Games should be doing is owning up to his mistakes, fixing them, and then never repeating them. Now that is what most normal humans would do under these circumstances, but as we have all come to know, developers such as these tend not to think in normal human ways. Welcome to the Dirty Devs, Alessandro and SiBa Games. I hope you enjoy your stay. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. I'll see you next time.